Welcome back. Once again, we have Lane Lightsey, Glenn Rao, Dave Owens, and Pat Birch with us. And let's talk a little bit about improving the pastures and so forth. Dave and Pat, I want to start with you. As a producer gets started evaluating his pastures, what should he be looking for?
One of the key things is to really know which kind of weed or brush species that you're talking about. Each one of those different species really has a good chemistry that you can use on it, right? And not all of the weeds will respond the same to our different products out there. So know what you're really dealing with before you get started on a program.
What else should producers be doing?
Well, I think that there's, past history of what's been happening in this pasture. That's a key. You don't forget what it was there previous year. Good chances are it's going to be back if the management system hasn't been changed. So any kind of a history about the pasture, about the area, is very helpful in evaluating what kind of control measure you may need.
And Pat, why is it that weeds and brush can encroach so quickly on a pasture like this?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with just management. If you look at the model here from Lightsey that we've seen here, where they actually go out and inspect and manage it as part of a program approach, not just a reaction, but going out and evaluating the pasture very early, looking for those weeds before they get rank or very tall, and making that application then. That allows your forage, your grasses, to capture the site. They will help keep those weeds out of there. So that's a key component of it, is think about it in terms of a program rather than a reaction.
Lane, what would you add? Have you seen weeds and brush encroach quickly on pastures?
Yeah, very quickly, and I've got some neighbors that do very little as far as weed control, and we have some new ones in Florida now that we used to didn't have become a serious problem. But and like you said, don't let it be a knee-jerk reaction. Don't wait till your dog fennels are 12 foot high and you can't see your cows anymore. And really, and some of our worst ones are weeds that you have to get down on the ground to look for, like dollar weed. It's right down there, it grows on the ground, and it takes up a lot of nutrients and does your cows don't eat it. So we want to eliminate those too. But I think just really early application. Know what you've got coming up early while it's tender. You can use less product when you spray it and get on it. And we spray thousands of acres every year. And have a good relationship with your rep. Our Dow rep does a great job. He's on top of this stuff, he's informed, and he's our best source of information. I can read all I want to, but he knows just what's going on, so I contact him and he lets us know what to do.
You have some weeds that can give grief pretty quickly there at Iowa as well?
I think so, Kevin. If you anticipate what's going to happen, if you don't stress your pastures, I think helps a lot. I think the idea of knowing what you have, like they said, and knowing what you're going to do and have a plan, and that is a big help.
So Dave, once a producer identifies that he or she has a problem, how do they begin selecting the right product for the job?
Well, we've got some really easy tips for folks. We've got certain chemistries like Grazon Next that are really specifically geared towards broadleaf weed control. They're ones that provide a nice residual all season long, so it's very easy to get in. Very broad spectrum. You can spray just about anything you have and take care of your problems all season long. If you get into brush, some of the dog fennel that we've got out here in Florida, Pasture Guard is a little bit more of the way to go with that. Just different chemistries work differently on weeds and brush, and so it's just important to know which ones you're dealing with. But we've got plenty of expertise that you can call on us for, and we'll be happy to share.
And one sitting right next to you, what else would you add in terms of selecting the right product for the weed pressure that you're currently facing?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with getting that local knowledge. Our sales reps that work in the area, our extension partners that do a wonderful job here in the state of Florida, for instance. I mean, we have great weed scientists that have a lot of knowledge about the weed problems and those recommendations, and we work very closely with them to make sure that we're in alignment.
So Pat, you've been on other shows before where we've talked about the timing of weed control products. What would you tell our viewers today?
Yeah, I think timing, as illustrated here on this ranch, the type of practice where they go out and scout, it's probably the best timing. Maybe not be the weeds that you can see from the cab of the truck, but you have to get out and actually search for them. And if you start to catch them in that early stage, there's a real advantage in that, because when you're making that application early, you're devoting those resources now as you go into the dry period. Those resources from the site are devoted to that forage, the desirable forage that you want on site. So catching those weeds early, there really should be no surprises. You know that these particular weed problems, the local problems that you have, anticipate them rather than reacting to them. And I think that's one of the key components of this.
Very good. Well, thank you all for your perspective here. And my goodness, if everybody's pastures could look like yours, Lane, I think we'd be in great shape. You've done a really, really nice job here.
Thank you.
To find out more about other topics related to weed control and forage management, visit the website rangeandpasture.com.